The Law of One, Book 4, Session 76, February 3rd, 1982. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner. Could you first please give me an indication of the condition of the instrument? Ra. I am Ra. This instrument is in a state of physical complex bankruptcy which has existed for some of the measure you call time. The vital energies are normal, with a strong spiritual complex counterpart and will lending substance to the mind, body, spirit complex energy levels. Questioner. Will our continued communication with Ra be deleterious to the physical energies of the instrument? Ra. I am Ra. We may answer in two modes. Firstly, if the instrument were thusly dedicated to this use with no transfer of energy of physical complex nature, it would begin to call upon the vital energy itself, and this, done in any substantive measure, is actively deleterious to a mind, body, spirit complex if that complex wishes further experience in the illusion which it now distorts. Secondly, if care is taken, firstly, to monitor the outer parameters of the instrument, then to transfer physical energy by sexual transfer, by magical protection, and, lastly, by the energetic displacements of thought forms energizing the instrument during contact, there is no difficulty in that there is no worsening of the instrument's mind, body, spirit complex distortions of strength-weakness. It is to be noted that the instrument, by dedicating itself to this service, attracts greetings of which you are aware. These are inconvenient, but, with care taken, need not be lastingly deleterious either to the instrument or the contact. Questioner. Of the three things that you mentioned that we could do for the instrument's benefit, would you clarify the last one? I didn't quite understand what you meant. Ra. I am Ra. As the entity which you are allows its being to empathize with any other being, so then it may choose to share with the other self those energies which may be salubrious to the other self. The mechanism of these energy transfers is the thought, or, more precisely, the thought form for any thought is a form or symbol or thing that is an object seen in time-space reference. Questioner. Has our use of the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram been of any value, and what is its effect? Ra. I am Ra. This group's use of the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram has been increasingly efficacious. Its effect is purification, cleansing, and protection of the place of working. The efficacy of this ritual is only beginning to be, shall we say, at the lower limits of the truly magical. In doing the working, those aspiring to adepthood have done the equivalent of beginning the schoolwork, many grades ahead. For the intelligent student, this is not to be discouraged. Rather, to be encouraged is the homework, the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, as you might metaphorically call the elementary steps towards the study of being. It is the being that informs the working, not the working that informs the being. Therefore, we may leave you to the work you have begun. Questioner. Would it be beneficial for us to perform the banishing ritual more in this room? Ra. I am Ra. It is beneficial to regularly work in this place. Questioner. I am sorry that we have had such a long delay between the last session and this one. It couldn't be helped, I guess. Could you please tell me the origin of the tarot? Ra. I am Ra. The origin of this system of study and divination is twofold. Firstly, there is that influence which, coming in a distorted fashion from those who were priests attempting to teach the law of one in Egypt, gave form to the understanding, if you will pardon the misnomer, which they had received. These forms were then made a regular portion of the learned teachings of an initiate. The second influence is that of those entities in the lands you call Chaldea, and Mesopotamia, who, from old, had received the, shall we say, data for which they called having to do with the heavens. Thusly, we find two methods of divination being melded into one with uneven results. The, as you call it, astrology and the form being combined to suggest what you might call the correspondences which are typical of the distortions you may see as attempts to view archetypes. Questioner: then am I correct in assuming that the priests of Egypt, in attempting to convert knowledge that they had received initially from Ra into understandable symbology, constructed and initiated the concept of the tarot? Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct with the addition of the Sumerian influence. Questioner: were Ra's teachings focusing on the archetypes for this logos and the methods of achieving a very close approach to the archetypical configuration? Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct without being true. We, of Ra, are humble messengers of the law of one. We seek to learn this single law. During the space-time of the Egyptian teach-learning, we worked to bring the mind complex, the body complex, and the spirit complex into an initiated state in which the entity could contact intelligent energy and so become teach-learner itself, so that healing and the fruits of study could be offered to all. The study of the roots of mind is a portion of the vivification of the mind complex and, as we have noted, the thorough study of the portion of the roots of mind called archetypical is an interesting and necessary portion of the process as a whole. Questioner: is there, in Ra's opinion, any present-day value for the use of the tarot as an aid in the evolutionary process? Ra: I am Ra. We shall repeat information. It is appropriate to study one form of constructed and organized distortion of the archetypical mind in depth in order to arrive at the position of being able to become and to experience archetypes at will. You have three basic choices. You may choose astrology, the 12 signs, as you call these portions of your planet's energy web, and what has been called the 10 planets. You may choose the tarot with its 22 so-called major arcana. You may choose the study of the so-called Tree of Life with its 10 Sephiroth and the 22 relationships between the stations. It is well to investigate each discipline, not as a dilettante, but as one who seeks the touchstone, one who wishes to feel the pull of the magnet. One of these studies will be more attractive to the seeker. Let the seeker, then, investigate the archetypical mind using, basically, one of these three disciplines. After a period of study, the discipline mastered sufficiently, the seeker may then complete the more important step, that is, the moving beyond the written in order to express in a unique fashion its understanding, if you may again pardon the noun, of the archetypical mind. Questioner: would I be correct in saying that the archetypes of this particular logos are somewhat unique with respect to the rest of the creation? The systems of study that we have just talked about would not translate quickly or easily in other parts of the creation. This is a very difficult question to state. Could you clear that up for me? Ra: I am Ra. We may draw from the welter of statement which you offer the question we believe you ask. Please re-question if we have mistaken your query. The archetypical mind is that mind which is peculiar to the logos, under which influence you are at this space-time distorting your experiences. There is no other logos the archetypical mind of which would be the same any more than the stars would appear the same from another planet in another galaxy. You may correctly infer that the closer logoi are indeed closer in archetypes. Questioner: Since Ra evolved initially on Venus, Ra is of the same archetypical origin as that which we experience here. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. But I am assuming that the concepts of the tarot and the magical concepts of the tree of life, etc., were not in use by Ra. I suspect, possibly, some form of astrology was a previous Ra concept. This is just a guess. Am I correct? Ra. I am Ra. To express Ra's methods of study of the archetypical mind under the system of distortions which we enjoyed would be to skew your own judgment of that which is appropriate for the system of distortions forming the conditions in which you learn teach. Therefore, we must invoke the law of confusion. Questioner. I am going to ask some questions now that may be a little off the center of what we are trying to do. I'm not sure because I'm trying to, with these questions, unscramble something that I consider very basic to what we are doing. Please forgive my lack of ability in questioning since this is a difficult concept for me. Could you give me an idea of the length of the first and second densities as they occurred for this planet? Ra. I am Ra. There is no method of estimation of the time-space before timelessness gave way in your first density. To the beginnings of your time, the measurement would be vast, and yet this vastness is meaningless. Upon the entry into the constructed space-time, your first density spanned a bridge of space-time and time-space of perhaps 2 billion of your years. Second density is more easily estimated and represents your longest density in terms of the span of spacetime. We may estimate that time as approximately 4.6 billion years. These approximations are exceedingly rough due to the somewhat uneven development which is characteristic of creations which are built upon the foundation stone of free will. Questioner. Did you state that the second density was 4.6 billion years? B-I-L, is that correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Then we have a third density that is, comparatively speaking, the twinkling of an eye, the snap of a finger in time compared to the others. Why is the third density cycled so extremely rapidly compared to the first and second? Ra. I am Ra. The third density is a choice. Questioner. Third density, then, compared to the rest of the densities, all of them, is nothing but a uniquely short period of what we consider to be time and is for the purpose of this choice. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is precisely correct. The prelude to choice must encompass the laying of the foundation, the establishment of the illusion, and the viability of that which can be made spiritually viable. The remainder of the densities is continuous refining of the choice. This also is greatly lengthened, as you would use the term. The choice is, as you put it, the work of a moment, but is the axis upon which the creation turns. Questioner. Is this third density choice the same throughout all of the creation of which you are aware? Ra. I am Ra. We are aware of creations in which third density is lengthier and more space-time is given to the choosing. However, the proportions remain the same, the dimensions all being somewhat etiolated and weakened by the logos to have a variant experience of the creator. This creation is seen by us to be quite vivid. Questioner. I didn't understand what you meant by what you said, as seen by you to be quite vivid. What did you mean? Ra. I am Ra. This creation is somewhat more condensed by its logos than some other logoi have chosen. Thus, each experience of the Creator by the Creator in this system of distortions is, relatively speaking, more bright or, as we said, vivid. Questioner: I am assuming that upon entry into third density for this planet, disease did not exist in any form. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is incorrect. Questioner: What disease or form of disease was there, and why did this exist at the beginning of the third density? Ra: I am Ra. Firstly, that which you speak of as disease is a functional portion, the body complex, which offers the body complex the opportunity to cease viability. This is a desirable body complex function. The second portion of the answer has to do with the second density other selves of a microscopic, as you would call it, size, which have in some forms long existed and perform their service by aiding the physical body complex in its function of ceasing viability at the appropriate space-time. Questioner: What I am trying to understand is the difference between the plan of the Logos for these second density entities and the generation of what I would guess to be more or less a runaway array of feedback to create various physical problems to act as catalyst in our present third density condition. Could you give me an indication of whether my thinking is anywhere near right on that? Ra: I am Ra. This instrument's physical body complex is becoming more distorted towards pain. We shall, therefore, speak to this subject as our last full query of this working. Your query contains some internal confusion which causes the answer to be perhaps more general than desired. We invite refinements of the query. The Logos planned for entities of mind, body, spirit complex to gain experience until the amount of experience was sufficient for an incarnation. This varied only slightly from second density entities whose mind-body complexes existed for the purpose of experiencing growth and seeking consciousness. As the third density upon your planet proceeded, as has been discussed, the need for the physical body complex to cease became more rapidly approached due to the intensified and more rapidly gained catalyst. This catalyst was not being properly assimilated. Therefore, the, shall we say, lifetimes needed to be shorter that learning might continue to occur with the proper rhythm and increment. Thus, more and more opportunities have been offered as your density has progressed for disease. May we ask if there are any further brief queries before we close? Questioner: I have one question that is possibly of no value. You don't have to expand on it, but there is a crystal skull in the possession of a woman near Toronto. It may be of some value in investigating these communications with Ra, since I think possibly this had some origin from Ra. Can you tell me anything about that? And then is there anything that we can do to improve the contact or to make the instrument more comfortable? Ra: I am Ra. Although your query is one which uncovers interesting material, we cannot answer due to the potential an answer may have for affecting your actions. The appurtenances are carefully placed and requisite care taken. We are appreciative. All is well. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, glorying and rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator, Adonai.